Lies. It was all lies. It's actually not the Abbasids. We have got a game 3, but it's a spin
Ooh.
up. PuppyPaw goes for the deli up against MarineLorD's Chinese. Let's
Oh.
get to it. Now I'm intrigued.
Okay. Okay, well, PuppyPaw has a positive win rate with the Delhi. He's got 2 wins, 1 losses, but it's gonna be the unused civilization game, apparently. 3 games only with the Delhi for PuppyPaw in this tournament, 1 game only for MarineLorD with the Chinese. But this also means that the opponents simply have no idea what exactly you're planning, because there's no scouting information on you from previous sets, so to say.
Oh, no. And Delhi's just always been kind of one of those dominant civs people know how to play, right? Like, there's been this argument for a long time. Is Delhi actually weak? Or do people just not want to play it right now because it feels too strong? Well, we're going to have to see that. I mean, PuppyPaw may be feeling, well, he's got to be feeling confident that it's strong, right? Like, you wouldn't pick this here when you're 2 points down already if you thought it was going to be a throwaway civ situation. Throwaway civs, by the way, folks, is when you are trying to milk a strong choice out your opponent because they're both picking blind, while throwing away something you don't intend to necessarily like be dominating with. And I just don't see Delhi being that. I can see how Chinese could be that for MarineLorD, and he's definitely in a position where he can actually afford to strategize like that.
And this is going to be the first time in Golden League where we see the brand new Altai being utilized. So we've gotten used to Altai being one of those maps where you have a limited amount of wood, only 2 big forests for each player. Now it has been changed. You see on the minimap there are a lot of small tree masses. It's still less wood than, let's say, what you would get on a map like Lipany, for example. But you have way more wood accessible. This map is no longer about starving your opponent out of wood in the long run. And also, the other thing that's very interesting with this map is that the hunts have been split up. So now the players do have a hunt, which is only 3 deer, and the other one is being 4 or so. So you no longer have that one patch of 7 deer. There is one with 7, and then there is one with only 3 and 4.
Yeah, so apparently in the Infinite Wisdom Relic, we're like, we need to put less value into Pro Scouts, which is already not feeling that good anyway. I feel like that's what this kind of done. Is kind of an interesting but also weird change. It definitely looks very weird if you haven't seen the new Altai and you look at the map for the first time. You're like, wait, what? It seems like the Deer family had a disagreement, right? Like some went with mom, some went with dad. They only meet up at Christmas.
Yeah, as a side note, it looks like our colors are messed up over here because it is definitely not the blue player playing Chinese, and it's not the red player playing as the Delhi over here. So hold on while we are gonna get that fixed. And there we go.
Hey,
everything is fixed.
It's a test. It's all a test, Lida. From the Abbasid to the colors, we're just making sure that everyone's awake, and they should be awake. All right, this is a hype series, a hype day, opening up elite playoffs here. Remember that after we're done with this one, the action will continue because we're actually going to have not just one bro present in the game. It's actually going to be the Battle Bros as Vortex Luciferon later. But let's focus on this one because I'm intrigued to see what PuppyPaw's got in mind. Are we expecting some sort of Castle Age type strategy? Is it going to be the oppressive feudal that we're used to seeing out the Delhi?
Maybe the Tower of Defeat, you never know with this civilization. I just call that Tower of Defeat. I actually have a cool story with that. I was like, one day we had Grubby picking Delhi for the same map Altai, and chat convinced him to go for the Tower of Victory, and I was like, nah, oh my god, Lord, that has to be the Tower of Defeat. And Grubby was like, okay, I'm gonna show this. I'm gonna show how you can use this. And then he lost. So yeah, we still classify the Tower of Victory as the Tower of Defeat, and in all certainty we're going to see how is the landmark called actually? Dome of Faith. That's what I was going for.
Dome of Faith.
Coming in,
or as I like to call it,
I
like to refer it to as get your production buildings for half price. Like, this is what makes this thing so ridiculous. Like, think about it this way, folks. Dome of Faith, remember that one of the things that Delhi can do is production efficiency. They can actually bank a scholar inside of a military infrastructure and have it produce at double its rate. Now, that's okay usually, because usually you're paying 150 gold for a scholar. But the amazing thing about Dome of Faith is you only pay 75 gold, which allows you to actually just get a discount rate on your next production building, on top of all the flexi you have with the scholars. But you know what? You might not get to use those scholars in a full flexi. Maybe not around sacred sites, because look what MarineLorD is doing. It's the Barbican in the center. Now, there is no boar here for the cheeky double value.
Spearman.
Wait,
what? Oh, look at that. A spearman
out.
Is it
gonna be quick enough? I don't think it's fast enough, though. It's Chinese build speed. He's going for it. He's straight with the shivs. Maybe you kill one villager, but that Barbican is going up, and maybe your villies are going down. You need to get out of range.
Oh, man.
Yeah, he recommit. He's done it. He's got it.
The spearman was fighting the scouts. That's the problem. Spearman
It's
was
still
scouting.
difficult though.
Oh
It's
yeah.
so difficult. Like it's the increased build speed of the Chinese, right? Like any other Civ, this you get them, this works, but against the Chinese, it's so easy to get caught off guard like that.
Oh, that must be heartbreaking because, oh, villager getting intercepted on the right side. That is a dead villager because you can't fight off 2 wolves. Nope, no MarineLorD, that is not something that you can do, so that's gonna be a dead
Just quick
villager
wall,
out
quick
there.
wall, quick wall, quick wall,
Oh,
quick wall. No! Oh,
nope,
no!
it's a dead villager.
Survive the wolf, but don't survive the horse. That has to hurt.
Okay.
So that was such a good micro as well.
Yeah,
I feel for him.
PuppyPaw saved me over here because I was like, yeah, that has to be that villager. And then quick walls happen, Wolf is not gonna get the villager. And I was like, oh yeah, I'll look very stupid after saying that that villager is dead. But then PuppyPaw comes in with the save. A lot of things going on over here, right at the beginning of the game. Way more aggressive than usual.
It is, but you'd expect that with Barb in the center. I'm just thinking about that moment. That reminds we've all been there, right? We've all had that moment in a game, like Gamer God moment, where like you just say, I'm a god, and then like you get shot in the head by another person or something, right? It just felt like that moment right there. All that work, and in the end, it's actually PuppyPaw moving his villagers down here, because it looks like he's going to try to give himself easy access to those sacred sites, considering how natural these choke points are with the mountain ranges.
Yeah, before the chaos started to emerge in the middle, we were in the thought process of the cheap scholars, and that is the other thing that you're getting from the Dome of Faith. Cheap scholars also means that you can easily justify just sending out your scholars towards the sacred sites, and you really don't get very concerned if you lose 1 or 2 of those. If you had to pay the full price, it would be a lot more concerning to lose 1 or 2 scholars as you're trying to cap those sacred sites.
Yeah, it's also the fact that you're getting a building to push scholars without giving up your research, right? Because if you use the mosque, then you're not getting those critical researches. And pretty much like all the ones you want to have before you're up at like 15 minutes in are important, right? You want to get your hands on the production efficiency. You definitely need sanctity. Then we talk about the extra health, which is amazing to make sure that you don't lose those scholars as easily as you would otherwise. Like it seems like a no-brainer. Like this, when you look later in the game, it's easy to think about Dome of Faith as a crappy landmark, but it does everything and more to unlock the Delhi's potential in the first 10 and 15 minutes of the game.
Yeah, it essentially gives the identity to what the Delhi is nowadays. It is something that unlocks, as you said, all the possibilities for a Delhi with the sacred sites, with the infantry flood, and then you grabbing the map control, and you can build on that existing advantage very efficiently. And it looks like MarineLorD tried to tower that sacred site on the left side, but that tower did not go up. And now we're seeing the scholars moving out. MarineLorD did drop a blacksmith, so it's possible he's going to try and play the Jugenu, but one of the concerning things for him is that as things stand, PuppyPaw isn't going to have any problems grabbing 2 out of those 3 sacred sites.
No, these walls are actually on point, and there's no sneaky route through. Like, we can see that the northeastern mountain range is a little bit dodgy, but overall, like, it's contained. So it's going to be frustrating as well. If MarineLorD does want to go towards Jugenu, it's going to be at the end of this game fast because he can't play towards those sacred sites. There is a timer where he can achieve that, though. And I think it comes down to how well he masks what he's doing. If PuppyPaw gets a sniff of this, he can easily just double down on Feudal with a composite of horsemen and spears, and he can just run you through.
And it looks like PuppyPaw did scout the first couple of Jugenu coming out, and that should be sufficient information for him to conclude that, yeah, my opponent is going to play pretty heavy on the Jugenu side of things. Now it looks like MarineLorD also did mine a bit of a stone over here, not a tremendous amount, so this could just be for emplacements rather than a second town center. He of course is in Song Dynasty, so he's going to be able to build up a small villager lead over time, but it looks like MarineLorD is going to play Feudal heavy with Jugenu and Spearmen.
And I like this. I think the Chinese really thrive in this right now. Everyone's got a little bit too obsessed over gunpowder, right? Like, cannons are good, guys. Hand cannons as well. Pew pew feels fun. But you know what has more pew pew? These lads here, Jugenu with the burst attacks. They can do a lot of damage this early game. And the Delhi are not one of those civs that have a solution. They don't have an early chunky boy unit like a knight or a man at arms. Instead, they will fool the full power and might of the Jugenu.
And the thing is that by supervising your archer range, you can match the production speed of the Delhi as well. So you won't even necessarily fall behind in numbers, right?
Yeah, you're even higher, right? Like, it's not 2, it's 2.5. So not as powerful as it once was at 3 times the speed, but it's still even better than just, say, 1 archery range versus 1 archery range with a scholar bank and then to supervise from an Imperial official. So the Chinese get the edge, not only in terms of like the matchup and unit composition, but also in the production rates.
Scholar did capture that sacred site on the south and the north as well, so now PuppyPaw is going to start harnessing those two sacred sites, and look at that! This is essentially a semi-fast castle from him. He has no desire to fight in Feudal. He wants to go into Castland. If he gets there, we have a game for ourselves because, as you said, no early chunky unit, but how about Castle Age? You can start popping out those elephants, you can start popping out your lancers, and right now MarineLorD doesn't have the critical mass to push this.
No, he needs a spearman here to stop these horsemen. These horsemen have just got to run him through. Remember, Shignu, they're slower than archers, so when you're forced to retreat, it takes you that much longer. 1.12 movement speed doesn't allow you to retreat easily. He does at least get back to the Barbican. I like this. I'd love to see MarineLorD maybe crawling in with outposts. I think that could be the next step. We'll have to see if he wants to, like, maybe sidestep. He has, of course, gone for the Song Dynasty, so he is getting an economical advantage there. But a technological advantage is finally underway for PuppyPaw. And we already mentioned the speed difference in some regards. We have to talk about what's going to be happening later in this game. House of Learning speaks towards Man-at-Arms, and Man-at-Arms with Forced March will completely overwhelm the Chinese in Castle.
Well, MarineLorD is getting ready for Castle Age himself, so he should be able to start adding crossbows the moment he gets up as a response. The concern for him is going to be dealing with potential elephants right now. And you see, PuppyPaw is committing like at least 10 villagers, potentially 15 even, for that House of Learning. And that means that his resource income as he's going up is not spectacular. So, sure enough, he's now up to Castle Age, but his resource bank isn't spectacular to start spamming out those Castle Age units immediately.
No, and you know what is really scary to me as well is like the Chinese, once they get up in Castle, like what's their power play? It's been Nestor Bees. I feel like Nestor Bees has been the impressive unit with Palace Guard as well. My issue with this is you're up against the Delhi. The one civ that I'd say the foot infantry, the heavy army's foot infantry is just better because of Forced March. So I'd be very careful as a MarineLorD about relying upon siege to win these upcoming fights. Definitely a good call around the elephants. I think potentially against the elephants, maybe you just go for a heavy range composite. But it does feel like at this stage in the game, MarineLorD's probably going to have to insulate himself because I could see him easily being on the defensive soon.
Looks like we still have a bit of a poking and probing over here between two players. First Lancer is now out for PuppyPaw, but you see, there is enough Spearmen to fight this one back, and MarineLorD will be retreating to that Barbican once again.
Yeah, back to safety. Daddy Barbican here to save the day, and the Zhuge straight in for the trade. Archers, of course, having slightly more range than Zhuge, but Zhuge a hell of a lot more damage as you're seeing here, and the Spearman remaining can clean up the Lancers. These trades initially are bad for PuppyPaw. He needs to back out. I feel like he's jumped the gun a little. He saw the pressure coming and wanted to get him away from his base, but it does mean that his army is going to be erased.
Yeah, his army is getting erased over here. PuppyPaw did pick up 3 relics, so he's going to have that in the bank very soon. But his army is essentially gone right now. Looking at his army right now, he's got 2 Lancers, 2 Spearmen out there. He's got a total of 10 military, but that's a little deceiving because 6 of those are actually scholars. Those are counted towards military, apparently. That's not going to help in battles that much, though, unless you rely very heavily on herbal medicine, which, by the way, is no longer banned in the tournament.
Exactly, because we nerfed it. Well, we didn't nerf it, really nerfed it, thank you, Relic. They stuck it back to the Castle Age, but now it's on the playing field. Now, that's what I was about to say. These are military units, okay? Like, are you trying to tell me you go play a game of Overwatch, you don't call Reinhardt a member of the team because he just holds his shield up all the time? No! The tank is just as important in your raid in World of Warcraft. So let's give respect where respect is due, because the head patters, as I like to call them, are ridiculous once they get their hands on that herbal medicine. Wow. So, I think the switch up, though, is it going to be into Palace Guard? It looks like 3 are out in the field from MarineLorD.
Yeah.
He's supervising. So, yeah, it looks like, oh, wow. It's actually a composite of Spearman and Palace Guard.
I like it. I mean, at this point, if you look at PuppyPaw, he's got nothing against that, really. And if you mix in a couple of crossbows for MarineLorD, he could also deal with the men-at-arms, or just potentially overpower with all those Palace Guards. Looks like that tower is going to get denied as well. That is a lot of villager casualties out there. Actually, are those villagers or what? Yeah, those have to be villagers.
They're not villagers anymore. They're bodies now. That's quite the heavy hit for someone who's already trailing in the eco department by a notable number. Now being, oh god, is that 18? 18 behind MarineLorD at this stage.
Yeah, that is concerning. That is very concerning. Obviously, PuppyPaw does have the sacred sites, or at least the one on the south. The one on the north did get decapped. But now we get granaries coming in, so MarineLorD's eco is also going to be pretty efficient. 3 relics in the bank for PuppyPaw, but the army numbers are rising a lot faster for MarineLorD than it is for PuppyPaw.
Yeah, he's amassing, right? It's the supervisor that's coming in. Like, the scholar count is not healthy. If you look for PuppyPaw, he's only got 4 scholars, so he's not even got great military production. Not that he'd be able to afford it right now due to the lack of villager force, right? Like, this raiding is good, but I'm not sure if it's good enough. Like, this feels like superficial damage. You do at least delay MarineLorD's transition, and yeah, there it is. I was wondering if there was going to be a sneaky little
look at
line,
that.
and there was. It was the pass through the backside. It's a battle for Monopoly all over again. Actually,
That
no,
is
it's not, because the Spartan army's going to live. Let's be real. These knights are doing nothing.
That is a beautiful flanking maneuver, though, and it definitely sets MarineLorD back a tiny bit. He has to call off some of his forces to deal with that. So it gives some breeding room for PuppyPaw, and that is a much-needed breeding room. We'll actually pick off 1 or 2 villagers here as well, but still, as you pointed out, 14 villagers lead here for MarineLorD, and the thing is that we're getting closer and closer to that late-game scenario. So every minute that this game is going longer and longer is going to favor the Chinese, because this is the power spike that the Delhi are supposed to have. So this is where they really have to capitalize and start working towards potentially finishing up this game, because if this game goes very long towards Imperial, the Chinese will dominate the Delhi.
Yeah, you gotta think Grenadiers, you gotta think the hand cannoneers, and more the production rates, actually. I think the Delhi have some upsides that late in the game. I'm gonna say it again, Force March. I can't ever give that enough credit. It's a ridiculously powerful element of the Delhi arsenal. But my issue with what is happening from PuppyPaw is, like, that raid is very deceptive. It buys you time, yes, but like, it's not stopping MarineLorD from building forces, right? He's still building, he's still amassing more troops the whole time. He does at least use this to move to the front. My issue is, because he was so delayed moving out, you see MarineLorD is already back in position after cleaning up the Lancers. And now that he's here, it might be a little bit problematic for PuppyPaw. PuppyPaw, who, by the looks of it, might not even have Force March yet. And that's a problem, because that means that he will be picked apart before he can actually get on top of the Zhuge Nu.
Yeah, Force March is yet to be finished, and you see he's taking a fight that he shouldn't really be taking over here, trying to overpower those Palace Guards and Spears, but the crossbows are shielded well by the infantry, and the crossbows, they're undamaged, and they're going to pick apart all those man-at-arms. You gotta wonder if this was a good decision here from PuppyPaw to commit to this, especially without the help of those tower elephants and whatnot.
No, because the elephant was trying to see through the Barbican, and the Barbican is going to live by this rate. It looks like it's finally on fire, as they will have to recommit. But the Spears brace, the Lancers, that's not a good trade. He gets stuck in the mix of the Elephant as well. Everything moving forward. The wall low. PuppyPaw, he wants to go for it, but he can't. The Zhuge Nu snipe him out before he can begin. Front line is folding quick from MarineLorD, but he gets good trades out of it nonetheless. Yes, PuppyPaw will still be standing, but MarineLorD able to retreat behind his walls.
The tower elephants are coming in, though, and this is the power spike of the Delhi over here. The Barbican is gone, 3 sacred sites under the control of PuppyPaw. It's now or never for him. He's gonna burn down the Barbican, he's gonna grab that 4th relic for himself. Still 1200 food per minute for him, 900 gold, just enough to start spamming out those elephants, bring in a couple of scholars to heal them up. And how is MarineLorD going to deal with this push?
Well, what scholars are you bringing in, though, is my bigger concern. He only has 3 in the field, so it's going to be tough. If he loses this elephant, this can backfire quickly. And the issue is you're wasting so much time to get through the wall. You can see that pepper into the tower elephant is going to force him away. And that's going to buy time for MarineLorD to replenish, right? In a situation where he still has the economical lead. Yes, the sacred sites are somewhat evening up, but then we have to start thinking about other sides of this, right? The supervised with 20% additional drop-off, as well as the granaries, should be putting MarineLorD ahead.
Yeah, MarineLorD is clearly ahead. The question is whether PuppyPaw can still unleash hell with Delhi here in mid-Castle Age before MarineLorD is going to start capitalizing on that superior eco, because slowly but surely MarineLorD is building up his numbers. That crossbow bow is building, the Lancers, the man-at-arms will struggle against it a lot, and there is only 2 elephants on the battlefield right now. MarineLorD is still exposed on the right side, by the way, that the ridge wasn't walled off, so that is still an option to use for PuppyPaw. But his options are getting limited more and more.
Yeah, and I don't think you want to raid around the side like that, because it's going to weaken your front. I mean, this is the beautiful thing about what MarineLorD's doing here. It's just crossbows. That's all he needs to counter out everything he's up against right now. PuppyPaw needs to make a transition while he's still in a position of power. With 3 elephants as well, he's reaching a critical mass. I think PuppyPaw's win condition is in the next 4 to 5 minutes for reaching the base. Of course, the worry for me is because he has all 3 sacred sites, he might not feel that way. He might feel confident about just holding the midfield, and that almost feels gluttonous. It's going to offer up an opportunity for MarineLorD to build up an army and march out, and you might be split up too much or too far behind militarily to match the force coming your way.
Yeah, that's a great point, and honestly, in PuppyPaw's situation, if he feels like he can't push the base of MarineLorD right now, he should change his strategy. He should wall off the 2 sacred sites on the left and the right side with stone walls and just focus on the central sacred site. Essentially play a game as if this was King of the Hill, for example, and force MarineLorD to push out, because there's only 7 minutes on that timer, and we have seen that a lot of times, that's not a tremendous amount of time. So you could try to just force MarineLorD to break out of his base prematurely by controlling those 3 sacred sites. Looks like PuppyPaw is moving in for the attack though.
Yeah, and I like this. This is playing to his edge, right? Like, yes, you've got all 3 of the sacred sites, but the best way to utilize this is to make sure you keep whittling away your opponent. You're seeing exactly that. Like, the elephants are just too chunky. This is the better way for him to do it. MarineLorD, although he's building this huge clump of ranged units, like, one-on-one they don't compare. Look at the peppering coming out his way. You can never actually stick on top of him. The elephants confidently moving in on their own sim because they know there's no spearmen here to really punish them.
And the crossbows will struggle against all those elephants out there, because the elephants, these are not classified as heavy units. So they're not going to get the bonus damage out there. They're just ranged cavalry, which means that the Jugenu is actually a better response to those elephants than the crossbows are. And now MarineLorD, having his left flank exposed, he's going to be forced to fight. And as you said, offense is the best defense. The best way to hold those sacred sites might be you attacking the opponent, forcing him to defend. And PuppyPaw has enough stone for a keep. One has to wonder where exactly that keep could be placed. Oh, MarineLorD wants to keep in the middle, though.
This could backfire. This could be the moment. This could be the GG moment if this goes awry. But PuppyPaw, maybe too aggressive. He's out of position. The keep pull's going to be too late. The keep going up from MarineLorD first. PuppyPaw marched across to try and counter this out. He really needs a force march to get in position. He hasn't got it. Formation shuffle. He can be held in the choke point. And the build speed of China is going to reign supreme here. He's blocked off by 1 troop. He can't get around. The single spearman holding him back. Keep is going up. MarineLorD refuses to go out.
Oh, that is the worst possible scenario over here for PuppyPaw, because now you got a Chinese keep up in the middle. That sacred site is going to be decapped, so your hope of potentially winning this game on sacred site conditions are gone. We still have quite a lot of elephants here though, and you got to respect their ability to siege down this building, but now PuppyPaw is forced to take a premature fight, I feel.
Screw that respect. Kill them. Kill all the elephants. There's too many of them on this planet. Peppering him down, Jugnu trying to back off his sacred site, still not decapped. The heavy commitment required out of PuppyPaw. Keep almost constructed, but it looks like the decap's gonna come out. MarineLorD is gonna eliminate this win condition unless you throw away every single one of those elephants.
You gotta do that now.
MarineLord's gonna be eaten all night. It looks like that's gonna be the decap. No way to stop it, he's too late.
Oh.
And the damage done as well. Look at the numbers now for PuppyPaw. His military force has shrunk.
That's the worst possible scenario. He lost most of his elephants trying to fight for a sacred site that in the end he lost. You get the feel that he may have probably been better off if he just commits all those elephants in there. He probably would have lost them, but maybe he keeps the sacred site alive. Now, he's sitting on 2100 gold, so still there is a bit of a chance over here, and now those Lancers moving in for a raid. MarineLord's eco lead is not as big as one would think. There's still 4 relics for PuppyPaw, plus 2 sacred sites. The concern is that Delhi, once they get to Imperial, they're going to start struggling because it takes so much time to grab all those Imperial Age upgrades.
And it feels like in a lot of ways, militarily, both sides have reset next to 0, the level 1, right? If we're on the DEFCON system, the least threatening one right now. You can see barely any in the field for Eva. In fact, 24 pop cap on one side, 21 on the other. It's going to take time to rebuild. And one big edge PuppyPaw has in that rebuild is look at the amount of gold he has right now. Swiss banker in the making. Almost 3,000 surplus gold at one point there.
And I wonder if those villagers are going for a forward castle over there, because there's a blue dot on the minimap right next to that gold mine. Yeah, that is going to be a forward castle, and that is a big gold mine that PuppyPaw wants to deny. Oh, nope. You can chop through.
Well, apparently he doesn't want to chop through, okay? Don't pressure the man. It's a clutch moment. He just wants the strong point in the front. And you know what this can eventually turn into as well? Remember, the Delhi have a cheeky tech that allows them to turn these buildings into town centers. So although the economy lead, villager-wise, is with MarineLorD, it's not necessarily going to stay that way forever.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Now, the concern is that boiling oil also takes a lot of time to get, and that always leaves your keeps exposed to just infantry flooding over it. But look at MarineLord's access to gold, though. That could be a source of concern. There is no backup gold mines on the right side, and his big gold is on the left. If that gets denied, MarineLorD isn't going to have a ton of access to gold, and he doesn't have a single relic. There's one inside his base, but he hasn't picked it up. Palace Guard is now trickling into the eco of PuppyPaw, though. Villagers having to fight back is never a great sign to see.
No, no, no. He's going to need more of these keeps to fight back with. However, this many elephants, they want revenge. Their brethren died to a keep the other day. Today might be their day, though, with 6 on the front line and no sizable military force to buffer them away. This might be problematic. These trades are not going to be good for MarineLorD. Walls break, moves in, peppering him down. A little bit AFK from PuppyPaw and really needs to shift towards the objective here. But he seems a little bit too hesitant. Instead, he pulls away and he loses an elephant for his trouble.
Yeah, looks like the Trebuchet is crawling up on that position. Quite a lot of scholars on the battlefield. In fact, most of the scholars that PuppyPaw has are on that battlefield. He kind of needs to do damage right now, and I would love to see 1 or 2 mangonels being added from him. We've joked a lot about mangonels being an underwhelming unit nowadays, but when you have 5 elephants in front to protect them, and all that your opponent has is just food archers, the mangonel is still a great response, and I wonder what exactly is queued up on that siege workshop for Puppy.
I slightly wince at your suggestion of mangonels. If I'm the Chinese player, I'm rushing Imperial and pretending I can get bombarded before I die. Everyone knows you want to kill an elephant, bring a cannon. But those cannons are going to feel a mile away, and then some from MarineLorD. It's just, although the numbers look good and he's close to being able to afford Imperial, he knows the moment he does it, he's going to be jumped. And I think the reason we didn't see PuppyPaw going with the elephants there is he was hesitant due to boiling oil was a possibility. He didn't know that MarineLorD didn't have it yet. Had he had that info, guarantees diving in, he's headbutting this fort with his elephants.
Yeah, that's exactly it. He is on a timer right now. He's at 65 villagers as opposed to 92, and with those granaries kicking in, it doesn't matter that PuppyPaw does have 4 relics and the 2 sacred sites because the Chinese eco is also really powerful. And you gotta love that single palisade wall over here preventing those elephants from jumping on those trebuchets. Both castles are alive here still for PuppyPaw though. Another defensive castle coming in from MarineLorD. It looks like he's giving up on that plan to go into Imperial right now. He's still floating a ton of gold and food. But as he said, he's respecting the ability of the Delhi player to push this one as it is.
But he's also delaying it at the same time. You see these keeps going up again and again. Now, by my calculations, so MarineLorD has to build another keep after that one. He's now constructing his base. It will have to be behind his TC and everything will be dead. So kind of critical that you don't give over this important ground here. But MarineLorD's still buying a lot of time. You can see he's almost floating naturally towards that Imperial timing. PuppyPaw, meanwhile, is starved. Barely any food in reserve. Just trying to get a critical mass of elephants as he's now up to 8.
MarineLorD has been raiding that food eco for a long time, and those palace guards are really having an impact on PuppyPaw's food eco, but the castle in the middle from MarineLorD is gone, another castle being dropped by PuppyPaw, and that means that PuppyPaw could get back to that central sacred site as well, once again starting the timer. But as you said, now MarineLorD has the resources for Imp, and I think this is the time where he's going to pop it out.
That's the concern as well. I feel like if you're playing for the Sacred Site victory now, the only thing you're going back to is the lobby with a loss. It's too strong now for MarineLorD. You need to address this head on. The moment you see that Imperial Age crack, it's going to be similar to the last game where we talked about PuppyPaw just kind of has to go, right? There's a time where you just have to go, for better or worse. And I think that's where we're arriving at now. And the timing looks good for it as well. Moving in, a little bit hesitant. I mean, this is problematic. Like, I don't know if you've got enough scholars here to heal up the damage that's being done to these elephants fast enough. Because you have to be fast about this.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And we got some Springolds out for MarineLorD. That's going to help against those Mangonels. And that is 32 Jugen we're looking at. And now with MarineLorD being an Imperial, he can start popping out those bombards, as you said. All the Imperial Age upgrades. It's now or never for PuppyPaw. He's gonna be down 3 games over here if he isn't going to launch an attack in the next 1 or 2 moments.
Yeah, and there's going to be a lot of reports filed for abuse of pets as well at the end of this one, as PuppyPaw is not going to have to be a loving owner in this coming fight. He's going to have to throw his whole body into the front line and the bodies of these elephants as well. Keep down to half HP, repair crew coming out, heavy damage being done though. Once this goes down, you need to flood right in as fast as possible. Mangonels now in the mix of a PuppyPaw. Springolds and Krebs only for MarineLorD, so hasn't switched up into a bombard just yet. Instead going for the shutter triggers to get that additional range. Oh, drunk drivers! Yep, head the other way quick. Don't worry, elephants are slow, they'll never catch up.
MarineLorD did struggle a little bit with gold. I guess part of the reason why is because his big gold mine on the left side was denied. The castle right now is on fire, but he's got sufficient food to repair that one for the time being. Next volley might be able to finish it off, and as you said, it's now or never for Puppy, but scholars, they're not really healing it fast enough, and I feel like MarineLorD does have the critical mass. At latest, when he gets the Imperial Age upgrades, he should be able to take this fight.
Do or die. Name of the game right now is going in, but the pepper and arrows, holy crap, the damage coming out. These elephants are not as tanky as they should be. Not against this many. Shugenu gets into the melee range, has got the healing coming out. The skulls haven't quite been targeted out yet. The effective DPS being somewhat reduced for MarineLorD as he gives over some ground, but now he targets them out. No herbal medicine for you. The fire coming in from the keep as well. Elephants trying to rotate to the south side. Most of the Shugenu being obliterated by the elephants, but barely any Elephantos remaining for PuppyPaw as his army is quickly shrinking down.
It is the principle of mutual annihilation over here, both sides losing their army, but MarineLorD is in so much better of a spot right now. The Springwolves did take down most of the Mangonels, so they couldn't really affect the battle here, and as you said, all of those elephants are now getting taken down by the Jugenu. Springwolves now out on the battlefield to try and deal with those trebuchets, and the juice is just running out for PuppyPaw, or is it?
Get up, boys! They're like, whoa, we've been farming wheat this whole time and rice? Let's eat some elephant. I want to know what that tastes like. Even the villagers chasing after the elephants.
Oh, there is some value over here for PuppyPaw though, because if you look at his resource bank, he still has maybe a glimpse of hope for him if this game goes very, very long, because he's got a big resource bank. But this game isn't going to be decided in Castle Age for PuppyPaw, I feel. That elephant's actually getting a pretty decent value for himself though, picking off a couple of villagers in the back of MarineLorD's farming eco.
Oh, yeah, he's like, oh, you guys want to sample elephant? I've always wondered what human tastes like. So he munches across on a few, but you can see now the golden 69 villages of PuppyPaw, 88 still for MarineLorD, so sizably ahead with a whole technological advantage. And I'm concerned. I am really concerned, Lidakor. Like, he's still got more elephants coming in, but like, how do you keep up this rate compared to MarineLorD? The only way this works is if you're able to shut down at least half of his farming industry at the back of his base.
But that's exactly what PuppyPaw is doing, and if you look at those lumberjacks, those are protected by that keep that's being trapped down right now. Gold miner is getting harassed. MarineLorD is down to 400 food per minute, 200 gold per minute, and let's not underestimate that PuppyPaw does have a sacred site countdown with 630 left. It's going to turn into essentially an all-in-like approach over here with those elephants constantly having to fight in the base of MarineLorD. But there might actually be a glimpse of hope over here for PuppyPaw if he maintains the same level of pressure that he has done in the recent couple of minutes.
Well, your positivity is... it's just wonderful to hear, but I've got bad news for you, Lidakor. The time has arrived. The cannon, the natural predator, the elephant is in the field now. 1 bombard, 6 hand cannoneers. We just got gunpowder, baby. Wildlife dies.
Yeah, the window is closing over here for PuppyPaw. But by the way, imagine what would have been this game if that sacred site in the middle wasn't decapped. And there was a chance here for PuppyPaw to keep that alive. So this could have been a completely different game if that sacred site wasn't decapped in the first place. There is still 5 minutes to go, but as you said, now the bombards are out. Trebuchet is also shelling those castles. And you gotta wonder how exactly PuppyPaw is going to hold those sacred sites for 5 minutes. He can't win this game, I feel like, on destruction terms. It has to be with those sacred sites. If there's any chance for him, that is it.
He needs to take a really good fight to essentially just delay. Like, he knows he's going to be losing troops at a reasonable pace compared to MarineLords, but he needs to make sure he gets rid of the critical troops. And my concern is that backline. Springwell's bombards building up. Also, hand cannoneers in the mix. It's going to be very hard for PuppyPaw to dive. And he can't even rely on these elephants to easily take out the siege. Missile resistance is a problem for him. And these scholars, okay, defectors. We don't welcome defectors. Obviously, Delhi spies trying to join the Chinese cause. Russian focusing on the Trebs, though, which means it's free fire, an open field battle coming the way of MarineLorD as the elephants are quickly flopping to the ground. Second one about to fall, even the villager pull. He wants anything that can delay this. The ships are out. You can't gather the food, lads, but you've done a good job in getting rid of that wildlife.
That must have been a misclick by MarineLorD. I think he wanted to repair that trebuchet out there, misclicked it to the elephants. But as you said, you sacrificed all your elephants to try and stop those trebuchets, but the main danger right now is the bombards, not the trebuchets. And PuppyPaw's army is not looking convincing anymore. He's switching into men-at-arms though, and he's still hoping to maintain this level of pressure over here. If he can do that, he might be able to buy himself 1 or 2 minutes, because if you look at MarineLorD's army, it is great to deal with elephants, but how is it going to deal with heavy infantry, for example, or lancers? It's mostly just Jugenu, only a couple of hand cannoneers. Not even... Actually, there's 4 crossbows in the army, that's it. This might be the window for PuppyPaw. Delay it as long as possible, build up critical mass of men-at-arms and lancers, take one crucial fight where you destroy MarineLorD's army, and then hope that MarineLorD takes too much time to rebuild and you win this game with the Sacred Site. This game is not guaranteed yet for MarineLorD, but it's looking really good for him.
And that's why this keep is important. This is why PuppyPaw wants to keep it alive. It's that gold. The gold, if you look at the numbers, MarineLorD has been sustaining himself on taxation, but the peasantry only has so much to give before they run out of gold, which is why he's struggling to get out the crossbow we talked about, or the critical mass of siege. But now the siege is exposed. They're rushing the force march on top of him. PuppyPaw is going to snipe out one of the bombards. Heavy commitment, but definitely worth it. And now that is going to force MarineLorD back to the safety of his keep. We'll have to go back to the drawing board.
Oh, I don't like all those Mentrams now committing against the archers, though. Love the move to take down the siege over here, especially the bombard out there. Villagers are not committed to repair that trebuchet. Trebuchet gets taken down, so value is there for PuppyPaw, but he has shown his hand. He has shown that he is switching into the man-at-arms. And now MarineLorD will start popping out either hand cannoneers or crossbows to deal with that. But the timer is now down to 3 minutes, and there is no active siege over here for MarineLorD. Castle's gonna be dropped once again in an attempt to try and decap that Sacred Site in the middle.
Not as good a choke point to hold, though, this time around. The Jignu going to try to cover him with the crossbows as well, getting through the man-at-arms.
He might lose the castle.
Villages left constructed. He needs to go into the elephants right now. You're right, the castle getting low. Just enough repair coming out to get it complete, maybe. But will he be able to keep it alive? Yes! Trebuchet is down, pushes him back. Elephants forced to retreat. Keep still on the Sacred Site for PuppyPaw, but now a keep there for MarineLorD as well.
Oh, that is painful for PuppyPaw, because this is exactly how he lost the Sacred Site in the first place. He's down to just 2 minutes on the timer, but look at his army, only elephants, and we talked about this one. Those elephants aren't really going to crack it. MarineLorD, at some point, is going to start sacrificing his units to try and decap one of those Sacred Sites. Realistically, the only one that he can decap is in the middle, but he's got a good shot at doing so. PuppyPaw, you get the feel that he's gonna have to all in now. In fact, that has to be guaranteed. So he has to be prepared to potentially pull villagers even, if needed, to just maintain control over that Sacred Site at all costs.
I'll tell you what, if you just glanced at PuppyPaw's army right now, you'd think we were watching some footage from day one when everyone was curious about Delhi elephants. Right? This is 9 elephants all of a sudden in the blink of an eye. It's all he's got to go for him. The bombard's going to snipe out the keep. You can't really afford to pull villagers to repair it because he needs all of them gathering so he can afford additional elephants at this stage. And I'm worried. The bombard count up to 2, hand cannon is at 6. The Jignu have proven themselves formidable against the tower elephants, and now the decap is going to force the matter. Keep. Second one being constructed by MarineLorD. Another way of forcing a fight here as he marches forward. Bombards trying to use the choke points to snipe out the Ellies as the Ellies go straight to the Jugunu, trying to block the Sacred Site decap. 1 minute and 15 still on the timer, and the baited, the force of the fight. This is where the elephants, they need to get their bang for buck. Village are being pulled, everything. The whole army, including the kitchen sink, being thrown at MarineLorD, and he will do the same. Villagers at the front keep being constructed, no way to stop it fast enough. Even with the torches in the choke point, he can't even rush around to wipe out the villager. Chinese teams are gonna go up, and with the fire coming out after the garrison, this is where it is doomed for PuppyPaw. 53 seconds away. Elephants falling fast, down to 4. No way to be able to hold every villager on the front line, but they are about to be massacred here. MarineLorD, one detail though, get on that Sacred Site with what you have left, because we're 40 seconds away and the timer is ticking down. So he sticks on top of it. 1 elephant remaining. It looks all over. PuppyPaw, even if he pulls the villagers, all he can do is freeze the timer. He can't keep it going in his favor for long. With double keep fire and only villagers left, MarineLorD looks like he has done it. 20 seconds left. Only 10 villagers more coming across. PuppyPaw, he's trying to keep it alive. This might be it. If they can buy enough time for the final elephant, he will do it. It locks in though. He gets a slight sliver and it's too late. MarineLorD, he clutches it up. 3 games now on the board for the Lord himself.
It got really dicey in the end here for MarineLorD, but such a great fight taken in the end. He started decapping that Sacred Site, and there was just nowhere to go for PuppyPaw. Baited in the elephants with the army, and then the elephants just got shredded by the cannon fire, shredded by the castle fire. Second castle goes up over here, and PuppyPaw tried everything that he has had. He pulled the villagers, but it was just a little too late. 14 seconds left on the timer, but in the end, it is just 1 score again for MarineLorD. He's leading 3-0 now.
What a phenomenal way to do it as well. MarineLorD, you know, he looked shaky for a lot of this game. PuppyPaw, like, he had his doubtful moments, but he done great to clutch this up in certain ways. But that final fight, I mean, that was intense. It's deceptive sometimes, folks, because sometimes we forget the way Sacred Sites work. If you have a full cap and someone blocks it from you decapping and it remains fully under your control, the Sacred Site timer continues to tick down. The difference here is that MarineLorD for a second shifted PuppyPaw off, forcing a slight sliver decrease that froze the timer. That was the difference. PuppyPaw, you saw him pull in an additional villager line. Had he done this maybe a little bit sooner, we could be talking about PuppyPaw with a point on the board finally, but no, it doesn't work out that way. MarineLorD, with what was considered to be one of his weakest civs, takes a third point in this series.